big story, and I don't know if it's true, but the Wall Street Journal had it. They said Google, starting soon and completing this by maybe 2017, plans to fold Chrome OS into Android. Android is the winner. There will be one Google operating system going forward. I'm actually a little disappointed by this.
I just thought it'd be the other way around, because Android's kind of forked
who's
into...
the big winner, though? I mean,
it is,
who's the most used operating system in the world? Number one.
Yeah. Well, the many faces of it. I mean, that's the thing, is that Google has a lot more control over Chrome than they have over Android.
Well, but this will be a Google-controlled OS, I think, and that's part of it, is trying to get Android back in the Google fold.
Right.
The thing is, I think they're different. You know, it's funny. I've come around on this. When Chrome OS came out, I was completely skeptical. The Chromebook seemed like a dopey idea. Why would I buy a computer that's only a browser?
Right.
I was convinced. Kids, most users nowadays don't need a full-blown operating system.
Well, and a lot of schools
complexity and security. Yeah, schools.
From iPads to Chromebooks.
This is the right solution. It's secure. I mean, really secure. Deep down at its roots secure. It does like everything that 99% of people want to do. I mean, most people, all they do is internet and email. It'll do that, no problem. I don't understand why you want to add an app store, the security issues that are introduced by more than 1 million apps. It surprises me.
Can't you provide the same experience through Android, though, effectively, by creating a custom version or some subversion of Android that effectively only runs Chrome, so that effectively you have basically the Chrome app running within the Android operating system? And so any extensions
Chrome
that
OS.
you make to... Right,
What's
but
the
that
distinction?
Way, at that point, you're limiting your developer pool, and the extensions that are made then to the Chrome browser there can then get ported back to Android as well. And it makes your life a little bit easier without having to support these two completely separate operating systems.
It's a small difference because really both are based on Linux.
Right.
You know, I mean, I guess the biggest difference is Android is Java sitting, you know, in a special Java virtual machine, Dalvik, or the new one, which is called Art. Chrome is not. It's a direct. It's direct code, right? So I don't know. I mean, it feels like going to Java is going backwards, but I might be wrong on that. It is credible. It's coming from the Wall Street Journal. They usually seem to get these stories right. They say that. Android was an almost retro approach within the company because it focused on devices that only worked when software and apps are downloaded onto them. And Google is a cloud company. Chrome OS is a cloud OS. You know,
right? Most
of what you do is in the cloud.
Yeah, it seemed to me as it was going to go one direction. It always seemed like it would go the other one.
Go that way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, anyway,
evidently not.
Well, I guess you'd have to keep both. You can't get rid of Android. I mean, Android is dominant.
Android is Android.
It's Android. So I guess that makes sense. And you're right, Tim. You do leverage the popularity of Android.
I mean, I would think that too. I mean, a big part of the reason you would want to do this would be, I mean, obviously Chrome is more secure and can have those benefits. But why would you give up the app ecosystem?
Right.
Why would you give up some of the the offline caching stuff? Because, you know, that is still one of the big things with the Chromebook is you do need to have a connection. And if you pay for, you know, their ridiculously priced Wi-Fi or, you know, LTE things, then that's fine. But a lot of people don't want to do that. I think that it'll be interesting to see how they implement apps and if maybe apps can run on their own kind of, like Linux, like instances, so that it doesn't, potentially conflict with the more secure stuff on your system. I think they could do some interesting things with it because fundamentally, I mean, it's a Linux kernel for both.
That would be part of what Android would give you as well, sandboxes for each app. You know, sandboxes aren't perfect. We've certainly seen exploits and all sorts of problems there. But in theory, you know, each app would indeed be running within its own sandbox. It would be a secure environment, you know, as secure as Android is and can be anyhow. So it's not perfect, but, you know, you can provide that within there. And again, I think the main benefit would be any then extensions, any moves forward that you make, then get ported back to Android automatically without having to have two developer teams working in sync and trying to keep the same browser in parallel on multiple platforms.
It makes the Pixel C make a lot more sense. When we first saw it, I thought, why is that Android? That really ought to be a Chromebook.
Yes.
Now, if it's, you know what, I would be really interested in this if it were kind of a Crandroid.
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 And we have a title.
Sounds delicious.
What is the name for this? Is it? It's the first Crandroid tablet.
It's good for your kidneys.
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's right. The Pixel C is going to be. When is that out? By the way, they announced it. I don't see any.
We still don't know exactly.
Yeah,
I don't think we have a date.
This is the one with the magnetic snapping keyboard, and
I'd be really interested if what they did in this regard ended up being the kind of thing where, you know, Android's great on smaller screens. Chrome OS, I have to imagine, would not be great on a very small screen. But we know that it sings, that its comfort zone is like in that laptop kind of style category. Chrome OS as a touch-only interface, period, kind of doesn't really work either. It's nice to have the integrated touch, but it's not perfect. And
no, I agree with you. And touch, as we were talking before the show, I've been convinced now by the Surface Book, everything should have touch, even desktop operating systems.
As an option, right. So if you end up with something like the Pixel C, which, by the way, the minute I heard of it, it scares me because I don't believe that Android itself is great in that keyboard-type environment.
Jason Howell, host of All About Android. And Android App Arena, our producer. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you know whereof you speak here. Yeah. And
so I was a little afraid of it when I first heard of it. If we got this and it was the kind of thing where when it's in tablet, when it's pulled out as a tablet, you're working in Android. When you pop it into that keyboard, it knows, all right, this is productivity mode. Let's switch over to Chrome OS and give you an environment that's tailor-made for that. I'd be really into that, actually. I think that's the best of both worlds.
Do you even need to do that? I mean, all you do is you open Chrome on this device, even though you're in Android. And now if the Chrome has all the capabilities of Chrome OS, you're in Chrome OS.
I suppose so, yeah.
The thing about Chrome OS that Android doesn't have is all of that security, the power washing.
Yeah.
You know, Chrome OS does some amazing things with boot. It actually has 2 kind of versions of the firmware, and it validates one before it will use it. I mean, it does so many brilliant things. It's totally devoted to making it a secure system. Now, if we could bring that to Android, that becomes a very interesting play, because that's where Android is starting to lose some ground to iOS, is in security, right?
And maybe that's the goal. Maybe the goal is to basically take those resources that are at this point maintaining Chrome OS and bring that smart to Android. And then also, as Jason is suggesting, bring the desktop usability of Chrome OS to Android, which it definitely lacks. I mean, even if you do put it into a laptop environment, the buttons are too big. The typography isn't great for what you would expect from a desktop environment. So if it could do the best of both worlds and learn a lot from Chrome OS, I think that'd be pretty great. It would be an interesting move for Google to start moving into the laptop world too. You know, they've had laptops in the past, but they've never been a mass market machine. This could be if it were low cost enough, and it probably would be.
What if you incorporated the apps? What if you really kept it to Chrome OS, but you just incorporated the Android App Store and Android apps into Chrome OS so that I could?
Well, they tried to.
They were moving that way, right?
Yeah, they're moving that way. I mean, but I think to Tim's point, I think that you've got to have your resources best executed, and in a lot of ways you're trying to reinvent the wheel twice, right? Like, it seems like they're trying to do the same thing in 2 different places. So, you know, I think we all expected this to happen, this convergence to happen. Which one would win? Maybe there was a difference of opinion. I always expected Android would win because it's bigger and it's obviously way more widespreadly used. But I mean, just because they're going in one direction this way, you know, they're converging, doesn't mean that the Android implementation on the laptop would be exactly the same as it is on the phone. You know, there would be nothing to stop them from kind of maybe making this hybrid thing, but it would still fundamentally be Android based.
Makes the Pixel C a lot more interesting.
It does. It does. I mean, it makes it kind of look like the future.
Yeah. Crap. One more thing I got to buy.
Although if this isn't gonna happen for another year or two, it kind of makes the Pixel C not that awesome because you're stuck with Android in a keyboard environment for however long.
So the journal implied that you would start seeing this move soon. It wouldn't complete till 2017.
Got it.
That sounds like the Pixel C.
Yeah, and could be a big reason why they've given us very little information up to this point.
You buy the Pixel C, you're buying into the Crandroid platform. I'm going to call it that. I don't care.
You put a trademark on that right now.
It's not Chrome Droid. That's dumb. Crandroid.
Crandroid.com. I'm checking. Probably too late.